Hey there, this is Jack from Cult of Notion. Thank you so much for joining me today with this video. If you've purchased this template, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you so much for your support. It really means everything to me. I'm working really hard to make sure that these templates over-deliver and are as comprehensive as I can possibly make them. So your support means a lot, and your feedback, questions, they help me know what I can improve, if there's stuff that, maybe Notion needs to work on. It's really great. So please don't hesitate to contact me, DM me on Twitter. I want to say hi. Seriously, as an introvert, it's so nice when people message first, So please DM me on Twitter. I have some information, some contact information here, so you can reach me at any time. And of course, the actual template is here. So without further ado, let's get into the advanced invoices and receipts template. First off, this is the page, and you can see there's a little V1 here. Something that I try to do is when templates might need to be changed over time is to include versions of them. So when you buy it once, you have the past versions of it and the current versions of it. That way, if you like something better in a previous version, you can always have access to that. So Notion, it's updating all the time, and it updates quite frequently nowadays. And so I just thought that that'd be helpful to have. So if we go into this, though, this is where the main template is going to be. And boom, here we are. So I'm going to do a quick overview. First off, we have a start here section. That's where the tutorial video is going to be. It will have literally what you're watching now in this toggle. Next, we have important template settings. And that has several sections to it. I'll go over that in a bit. We have new invoice. Quick place to add new invoices, a quick view of the invoices, and then the main view, as well as a tax withholding calculator. Okay? All right, I'm going to close these back up, and we're going to go to the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. We're going to start with the important template settings. So there's 3 sections for your reference. Edit these templates with your brand and additional resources. For most of the templates that I make that have multiple moving parts and are perhaps a little more complex, I like to have a for your reference section, which is basically most of the time databases that you want to have on hand. In this case, this is a shortcut to the main database that houses all the meat and potatoes. And then these are other databases that do connect with this one. Okay. So that's what this is to kind of keep that all in one place so it's convenient to get to. And then next we have edit these templates with your brand. These are the invoices and the receipt templates here. You can also find them if we go to the main view here. And in the new, in this little drop down, these are all those templates, right? The idea though is that instead of having to scroll all the way down, go to the arrow, pick the thing, they're literally all listed here. It just makes it easier to get to. So that's what that's for. And again, these have the ability to customize these with more of your brand colors, or if there's certain things you want to have for default invoices, it's quick. You can quickly edit them there. And then additional resources that has the Canva templates, as well as a little time converter. The Canva templates, I like to include these because when we're talking about templates where you're reaching out to other clients, right? Or the presentation matters a little bit more. I like to include Canva templates so that you have basically what's in here. For example, let me go to the simple invoice for a second. I'll go over all this in a second. I just want to show you what I mean. You see how there's an image here? You may not like this image. You may not like the colors or whatever, but I include the Canva templates so that if you want to use what I made with the little circle and all that, you can change it. And of course, this is the same block, so you change it once and it will change it for every other template. So the Canva stuff has this and has a couple other images, I believe, so that you have quick access to making this match your brand. That's what that's for. And then the time converter, that's actually probably the most simplest part of this whole thing. It's literally just to help you convert hours and minutes so that you're not trying to do those calculations on your own. So let's do, or on your own, I mean having to go elsewhere to do it or, hurt your brain. So this just converts it to total minutes and total hours. Sometimes that kind of calculation can be helpful. So you can always duplicate this where you need it if you would like to do that. So we're going to start, before even reading all this and going into all these, we're actually going to start with this database because this is the most important part of the whole thing. Okay. So when I click this, it's going to shortcut. It's a shortcut to the database. It is, and that database is actually, it's here. This is not a copy. This is the original right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And here we go. So this is the add view. This is for quick adding your invoices. This is all of 2023. You can always change this filter here to make it so it's not 2023, so it's 2024. The idea is that this database lasts longer because you might want to have all your invoices in one space and it's easy to kind of separate them by years. There's another template that I made, a business expenses one, where there's a new database per year because that was the better way of organizing it for me. So there's so many ways to skin a cat with Notion. That's one of the best ways about it. But in this particular case, this database should last you several years is the idea. You don't need a new one per year. You just have to change the filter and you have to change the year that you want the filter to default to. Okay? Next, we have not sent. This literally contains everything that has a sent status of not sent. We have not paid, and that actually goes by this, which is not your typical, status thing. This is actually formula. We have a partial paid, again, formula. We have paid, which is like 100%, all good. We have estimated taxes, income by quarter, taxes by quarter, not paid by client. So you can see these don't just have the not paid status. This is everything that's incomplete, right? There is missing money here, okay? And then we have paid by client. So this is only going to be 100% what's paid. And we have income by year. So like I was saying before, one database can rule them all. You can have multiple years and it will sum the amount that's been paid by year. So you can see by year what your income's been. Pretty cool view. And I believe that is all of the default views. So before I get into the specific views and everything, I actually want to run over the actual template, what that looks like. And I think the best way actually for me to do that might be to create a new one. So let me do that. Okay. So this is everything you're going to see when you make a new invoice. I know it looks a little overwhelming at first, but I promise we're going to break it all down, okay? So first off, this is one of the templates. This is the billable hours invoice. And this is the actual invoice that you would create and use for your client. This is the part that you see, okay? So this is for your client. This is for you. This is what's important to you as a business owner. As you can see, we have some different boxes here, different properties. One thing I like to include is a client section. And if you have your own CRM or your own database, right, that holds all your clients, this is a great way to connect them. So I have some examples here. I've never met them in person, but you can make this relation and add it to your CRM. For now, Wonder Woman's going to be the client. Payment status. This is really cool. This is going to tell you what to add until you've added everything. And then it's going to tell you what you're waiting for in terms of a client. So it's saying to add a total due. Let's say Wonder Woman owes me $5,000. Okay. Now it's saying add a due date. Brilliant. We're going to go down here. Oh, look, there's a due date. She owes me that $5,000 by June 1st. This just changed it again. Add amount paid. Wonder Woman hasn't paid me a dime, so I'm going to make that to 0. Oh, it changed to not paid. If I don't include that 0, it's going to tell me to add it. Okay, so I want to make sure that I say it's 0, so I know very clearly nothing has been paid yet. Okay? So now it's telling me basically what I'm waiting for the client. Before, with any of the missing information, right, it's going to tell me to add information. So once I've added the information that I need to know, then it's going to say, okay, in terms of status, we're waiting on stuff, right? Okay, so that's kind of the first part of this. The second part here, we have some other things. Invoice number. Whatever your invoice number is, you just copy paste it here. It's just to keep track of it. Nothing really fancy. Invoice sent. Okay, this is good to know. Let's say you send something like 2 months ago and the payment was due like last week. This is good to keep track of basically the timeline of things. So that's what that's for. Last payment received. This is important. So let's say Wonder Woman actually did pay me some money. She paid me $500. Oh, several things changed here. And she paid me, last week. This is, again, to help with some filter things, okay? But this is important. Whenever you get a payment, you have to fill this in whenever there's been a payment received. And this also helps with this, and I'm going to go over this in a second. So last payment received, you want to keep that updated. If the last payment you received was, March, right? And the due date's coming up, it helps to know, helps keep things on schedule. Payment link. This is I use wise.com a lot for bank transfers and stuff, for receiving payments kind of in the most cheap way for clients. And for me, it's the least amount of transaction fees for like bank transfers. So I like to have and keep the payment link so that I don't lose it or I have to go into the account and find it, right? And all that. I just copy and paste it once I've made the little payment link and then I have it. I can just click on it to see the information again. Could work with PayPal too, stuff like that. That's what this is for. It just holds the URL. Invoice file and receipt file are the same thing. You could upload or embed files here. So what I like to do is I'll make the invoice in Notion. Remember, this is the invoice and this is for them. By them, I mean your clients. So I make the invoice in Notion, right? And then I might export as a PDF and upload it again here so that I have a file here. And once they've paid it and I can give them a receipt, I have those files here. That's so that way I can easily download a PDF. If it's here, I take a few extra steps to make a PDF. Whereas if it's uploaded in this property, it makes it just easier to download an instant PDF. And that's great. Okay, now we're getting to some more calculations. We have estimated tax, estimated total after tax, year, updated, created, remaining due, actual taxes due, actual total after, and quarter. So let's break it down. Estimated tax and estimated total after. These properties calculate based on the percentage that you choose, how much you're going to have to withhold for taxes, not based on the amount paid, but the amount due. So based on $5,000 with whatever the template I have, I think it's 25%. And I'll show you how to change it in a second. So 25% I have being withheld for taxes. So based on the total due here, I should be putting away $1,250, and I would only have $3,750 after I withhold these. Okay, that's based off the total due. But the actual taxes down here and the actual total, this is based on the amount paid. Why? You could just have a simple invoice where it's like you put in the amount that's due or you check it off that it's paid. What I wanted to do here was to be comprehensive. So let's say someone tipped you. Let's say Wonder Woman was like the bomb and had some extra money to spare and gave you $7,000. Well, that's awesome. Based on the estimated taxes, this would be incorrect, right? This, however, is not. So she paid you more, therefore you have to withhold more, right? It also says that, she went actually paid you more than what you were owed, right? By $2,000. That's pretty cool. So the taxes due now is $1,750. The actual total that you'd had after is $5,250. Whereas if she just pays you the $5,000, then we have a different numbers that are owed, right? but this matches this because this is the total due and this is the amount paid. That way, you're always having accurate information. You can estimate what things will be, but then let's say someone doesn't pay you everything yet, right? Let's say someone only pays you half of that, right? You're not guessing. You're not having to go and calculate somewhere else. You have those calculations right there. I just think that's super convenient for, making sure that you have the accurate information. It cuts a few steps, I think. So that's what that's for, okay? So you have to keep this amount paid updated. That's a really important piece to this whole thing. Remaining due does some calculations for you. Based on how much has been paid, and based on how much is due, it just lets you know how much is remaining. That way you have a quick calculation. If you need to be like, hey, updated client, there's like $2,500 still remaining, can we follow up on that? That's already calculated for you. It's one less step you have to take. Quarter, this automatically, okay, and this is where these dates become really important. This automatically calculates based on the last payment received when you should probably withhold those taxes. So in this case, I said that the last payment received was in March. March is in quarter one, right? If I do April's in quarter two. So I know that, okay, some of this money, right, that's being withheld probably needs to be paid for quarter two's taxes, because as someone who's self-employed, we have to pay quarterly taxes. And that's what this is for. This is kind of the bigger glance is quarter glance. That way you can see, okay, I made this much this quarter and I owe this much this quarter. Okay. It automatically calculates that, which is pretty cool. And then we have updated and created. These help sort things. All right. And then in here, you have the invoice here, a new receipt button, a note section, and installments. As you can see, I have some example installments here. What's the installments thing for? This is so that, let's say you send one invoice, and instead of sending multiple, right, for multiple payments, you could do that. You have a single invoice, and in a contract, you agreed with a client that they're going to pay you 4 times, So let's say it's $4,000. And we're going to remove the amount paid for now for a second. We're going to make it 0. So it says not paid. So we're going to go down. Let's say, it was $4,000. And let's say Wonder Woman has paid, $2,000 so far. Well, it's telling me to update the invoice. And when it says update invoice, it's saying update this. So the amount paid so far has been $2,000, right? The last paid date or whatever, the last payment date, that should be May 9th. And then we know, okay, I added that and I added that one, we're good, right? This information has been added up here. So this is all accurate information, right? If I add this and I don't check it off, I need to be careful. I need to make sure this is accurate. And I can see if it's accurate by this automatic sum telling me what's been paid and then just adding it here. So I can see it here and other things can run their calculations. It's just helpful because if you have a contract where you allow people to do multiple installments or multiple payments, this accounts for that, right? And then we have these here. So this template is going to be different depending on the template that you selected. This is the billable hours. So this is going to be the billable hours invoice. The receipt as of this video is the same. Okay. This is a single receipt. I use this for everything. You could change this if you wanted to. You could add a different receipt. But for now, I like this receipt and I use this one receipt. Whereas this is going to be different. So I'm going to go into this for a second. Okay. So this is an example of an invoice template here. I have these little red blocks to kind of indicate what you're going to want to change so you don't forget. But otherwise, the layout is the same. It's pretty similar throughout, but there are different features each one has. So Billable hours, the benefit is that in here, in the main invoice, you have an hours and a per hour rate, and then it calculates the amount. So I'm going to create a new service because it's billable hours. The default is service instead of product or discount here. New service, we're going to call it Notion template creating. I spent an hour on that, and this is Wonder Woman we're talking about. So, I did $1,000 an hour, and I did 5 hours. She owes me, it was 4,000. So she owes me $4,000 because I spent, I have a $1,000 per hour rate, 4 hours, boom. There we go. Cool. And then I would add the total, 4,000. And then I would add the due date. And because we're spicy, the due date's today. Boom. And then I would remove these little red boxes and of course add this information here. So that's generally kind of how it works, right? But here's where some things are interesting. So first off, I don't know if you can see it very well, but you see the red here, right? As I showed you earlier, if you change this photo, it's actually going to change it for every single template. If you change this photo, it's going to change it for every single template. And if you change this information down here, you can delete this little box when you're ready. But this information here is really important. And when you change this, it's going to change it for everything. What's the benefit of this? Well, I have contact information here. I have payment information here, or instructions, or check information, mailing addresses, what my time zone is, right, in terms of banking and expectations there. This is great for different people to know. This is whatever client you have, this is going to be accessible on every single client's invoice. And if you change it once, if I change this contact information to be accurate, it's going to change it for everything. So the information is never outdated. And that's really, really, really cool. Similarly, in terms of branding, if you change this once, it's going to change it for everything. You might want to have your own thank you so much, message. And similar for this little symbol, you change this, it's going to change it for everything. This is great for things that you just want in terms of coherence and accuracy in terms of information. The rest, though, has got to be specific to the invoice itself because the invoice number shouldn't be the same, right? The client, you might have the same client, but the invoice itself should not be a copied, pasted thing, okay? So this information should be unique. All this should be unique. But this, right, doesn't have to be. But I would advise against putting any specific links in here. So, for example, I have instructions about the payment information. I say you will receive a wise.com payment request, but I don't include the specific link to the payment request in this synced block because then every single client would be able to access it and kind of see some private information, right? I don't want them to know how much Wonder Woman had to pay me. I don't want Superman to know that. So I'm just going to leave general instructions here so they can be aware of it. But then I would actually send them privately the payment link or, however I share it with them. Okay. So this is an example of the billable hours one. How do I get to the template again? Invoices, billable hours. If I want to change Wonder Woman specifically, that's going to involve going into the table and going into the add section because I added it today. This filters it by what's been created today. That way you can change anything that you need to change pretty quickly. Okay, so if I want to change Wonder Woman specifically, I have to go in here and boom, add a invoice number, right? Bill 2, Wonder Woman, date issued today, date due today, project title, Wonder Woman's Notion, building, custom Notion templates for Wonder Woman. And then I might use some of the same information and then apply it to here. So the invoice number, I'm going to copy and paste that. And I'm going to put it here. Right, the invoice sent, I sent it today. Payment link, that's not in here. You could put that in here, right? I like to keep it kind of simple where I keep the payment link for myself, but I send an email and I upload this invoice so that this matches the payment link online. The invoice file, I would print this out, right? I'm not going to do the export because this does not do it properly. I have another means for doing that. But this is where I would save the PDF and I would upload it to the invoice file here, right? And then I need to send it. So let's pretend that I sent it and we're good. But if I want to change the template, let's say I want a different default. Let's say if I go to the billable hours and I want it to have the company title in here. Well, I can have Cult of Notion, billable hours invoice. It's not going to change Wonder Woman's. If I go back, right? Wonder Woman's is going to be the same. It's not going to be Cult of Notion. But if I do a new one and I go in it, Cult of Notion. So that way, this title is how you want it. And you might not want the billable hours indication there for this. That's okay. What's important is that this title here has it so you can tell it apart. This has billable hours in it, and this, you could take it out of it. The idea, though, is just so that way you know what you're editing. You can keep it in, but you could remove this altogether and you could just have invoice, right? So then if I make another one, this one's not going to be updated, but if I make another one, then we have, boom, Cult of Notion invoice. So that way the default is how you want it, right? Boom. Okay, let me get into the invoice types while we're talking about invoices. And then I'm going to probably go over to the other databases here because they're going to be very involved with the invoices. So as you can see, there's a little quick note here. The simple invoice template found in the invoices section is formatted differently than the other invoices to account for Notion's native PDF export limitations, but it does not utilize automatic calculations. This is the simple invoice. And it's here, right? This is the same, but this is not. So if I go in here, oh, see this? This is not a normal database table. This is a basic table. This is just for if you really want to use Notion's export function here for their PDF. If you really want to just use that, this is going to print the best by itself. This is not going to print very well with one of those other databases that you saw earlier in the billable hours one. So if you don't want to use any third-party anything and you just want to stick to Notion, this is probably your best bet in terms of PDF exporting. However, I don't like using Notion's exporting. I really like using something else, and that something else is Fireshot Pro. They also make a free version you can use too. And what that does is it takes a screenshot and it keeps the formatting the same. It keeps the database looking the same. It doesn't change anything about it. And I love that because that makes it way better looking, right? It would actually retain the look of this billable hours invoice. It would retain all this information and not jumble it all up and make it weird. And, there you go. It can save it as a searchable PDF. It's not an image. It takes a screenshot, but it saves it as a PDF. It is searchable. So that's really, really cool. You could do that for free. It's one extra step, but you can use Notion for it then. So that's what the simple invoice is for. It's to keep things completely in Notion, but it does not have some of the extra really cool features like this. So these invoices are much like what you saw earlier with the billable hours. These two are very similar, by the way. New quantity, the only difference about that is that instead of saying per hour rate and hours, it's just quantity and price. But it functions the same. It's just different presentation. So that if you wanted to have products instead, and that's the default for this one, that's what that's for. These two here are a little bit different. So let me check out fixed discount first. Again, invoices here. This top half is the same. This is not, okay? And you can't see it from this view, but if I go to click open, okay, you're going to see some more properties here. This and this fixed discount and this number off properties, these are not included on the other invoices, okay? This is so that way, let's say I have a discount that I want to add. You can actually see there's a discount working here, right? There's nothing selected. How is it working? It's working behind the scenes. So I'm going to remove this for a second. And that discount goes away. But let's say I really wanted to have a fixed discount for this person who's owing me $15.50. I could be like, you know what? I want to give them $50 off or $100 off or $10 off. I just have to click it and it automatically takes that number, implements it into the amount for you. Boom. Done, right? It's not that tricky to do it, but it'd be kind of weird if I were to go discount, and actually I'm going to change this to the template of discount, which is here. I'm going to remove this one. If I did this and I did, 500, could I do it like that? I could do it that way. It's kind of confusing because essentially I'm saying to the client, you have a quantity of 1 and a price of negative 500. I could do it that way. And that's what the other templates allow. The other templates allow you to do it that way. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could have like a number of different invoices to choose from? So then you can like automatically select it and it pops up. And it works for fixed invoices, but it also works for percentages. So I'm going to show you that in a second here. Now let's check out the percent discount. This one is probably even more helpful in terms of calculations and stuff, but I will say it's not as simple looking, okay? So what I've done is, let's say we have a product for now, a product of, 2 Apple computers, just for shits and giggles. And we bought 5 of them for, $1,500, and we bought 5 of them. Okay. That's all normal. What's different, though, is this part. This is a separate table. Okay, this is not the same table. This is a separate one. And we have a similar thing where we can actually pick the discount in here. Let's pick, I actually don't want to pick it for this part. See, this is the initial total and this is the discount. But you can see I picked the discount here and there's a little calculation going on. So what I have to do is I actually open this up and I say, oh, the previous total, the one from here, was $7,500. Boom. That's the previous total. And it shows up there. The discount, I want to do 50% off because I really feel nice right now. Oh no, but nothing's showing up because I have to open up this one. And again, say the previous total. The previous total was $7,500. Boom. There you go. It automatically calculates how much the percent was and gives you the accurate number. So you just have to pick whatever percentage you want and you're good. So let's say I didn't want to do 50% off. I wanted to do 20% off. Boom. It already changed it. So then I can see. Isn't that great? And then the client can see, oh, they gave me a 20% off discount, right? Boom. And the calculation is done. The only thing is you have to open up this one and just add the previous total, but it will do it for you. So if nothing is selected, right, there's no discount here. That's fine. It just shows you the total. So you could actually, if you wanted to, you could just get rid of this and there's no discount. Now, it's redundant because this is essentially the same thing as up here, but it's not gonna mess with your total. So that's how that works. And then you just fill in the total just to make it bolder. If you have tax, you can add it. I'm going to delete this for now. But if you have, specifics, specific tax and stuff, there's another one for that, for sales tax specifically, and I'll go over that in a second. But you write your total here. That way it's a lot easier to see. And the date that it's due, because we're really mean. It's going to be due tomorrow. So that's how that works. If you didn't want the new invoice plus percent discount, you could change this to just invoice. But you don't want to change this out here because this helps you realize, it helps you know from a distance before even clicking on it what this is for. Okay? All right, so let's check out the fixed discount and sales tax. Okay? This is going to be the simpler between this and the percentage. This has only 2 tables, like what you saw with the percent discount. And so it works, again, very, very similarly. I'm going to pick, a new product, and it's going to be $500 each. Boom. That's the total. The discount that I had. Oh, I need to make a discount. My bad. New discount. The fixed discount is $100 off. So this is accurate. It should be only $900. I don't really need this quantity. Boom. There we go. Right? And then we have sales tax. So the total with the discount, I need to open it up. I need to add it. Previous total. The previous total is this number, $900. And then the sales tax. Just like the percentage one, I can pick the state. So this, you're going to probably need to mess with depending on what you want to do. But this actually has all the states in their, state sales tax included. So I'm in Virginia. I'm going to do Virginia. And I need to add the previous total. Okay. If you're not seeing a number, it's okay. You just need to add a previous total. The previous total was $900. And there you go. It's adding the estimated sales tax for me. So that's how that works. And then I just $947.70. Right? That's how that works. Pretty cut and dry. The one that looks a little bit more crazy in terms of just tables is the percent discount and sales tax. So that works so similarly, but there's an additional table in order to keep the, selecting the discount. So I'm going to do the same thing, 500, right? And then we're going to add the initial total, which is $1,000. I got to open it up here. Previous total. Discount, I just had to select it, 20% off, but I have to add, right, the previous total to this one too. Boom. There we go. And then there's going to be sales tax. So then I have to add the previous total, which is not this original number. It's going to be this number. Previous means just the one before it in this case. So the total with discount was $800. Previous total, $800. Sales tax, again, my state is Virginia. Got to add a total for this too. Previous total was $800. There you have it. There's my sales tax. There's my total with a discount. That did not take long. And that's in Notion. And if I wanted to print this out, I would not do it from here. The export, I would use Fireshot in my browser. I would open this up in my browser, use that extension, and it gets it all pretty for me. It's very clear. A client can then see, okay, this is the total with a discount and sales tax. This is the total with the discount. And then this is just the initial total. This is what it was going to be before everything, right? And I still save money. That discount really saved me money, right? If I didn't have that discount, I could delete it. And I just had to add the previous total. I have to correct it. For both, remember? So that's $1,000 as the previous total. And this was $1,000. There you have it. So that's how those work. Those are kind of unique invoices because I haven't quite seen this done much. But that way you can have stuff, saved in these databases, and I'll take you there next. It makes it kind of cool. Makes the process kind of fast, I would say. Especially once you get the hang of it. So then I'm going to go into these so you know how these work. These are the databases. This information comes from the Tax Foundation. Okay, this is everything that they had in here. I just imported it into Notion. This is easily accessible information, by the way. I just thought it'd be really cool to incorporate it into a database. So I have all that information here. I just imported it. And literally that's all this is. This is a database of this information. And the roll up from the previous one is the state tax rate. You could change the roll up so that it was choosing something different, but that's what it's doing right now. All right, and then we have the percent discounts. So what I recommend, look at that. That's all that's going on, but it works so well in the invoice. So, I might have a few different ones to choose from, right? That I like. Maybe I name them special things, and it's going to show up on the invoice, right? I would add all of these that you want, and you can just pick them during the invoice. You could also save templates that already have these picked out. It's one more thing that you don't have to add manually. And then last but not least, fixed discounts, right? Similar concept, but the formulas are different for those templates. So that's those. And then invoices and receipts. I wanted to show you the receipt. So back in this, I'm going to open up Wonder Woman's receipt again. As you saw, we have the invoice and we have a little receipt button. Okay. I keep this in a synced block because it just makes it easier to make one change and then it lasts, but you don't have to. If you don't want it to be in a synced block, you can unsync it, okay? But basically, you press this once, it makes a new receipt, and then I would drag this outside of the block so it's not in the red anymore, and then edit it from there. And this is super simple too. Simple too. You have your receipt, and then this is just to acknowledge that a certain amount was paid, right? And this could be really helpful too if you're tipped or whatever, the company or the person that you're working with has an official document from you that says what the amount was that they're claiming that they paid you. So that way everybody's documentation is accurate. And if you want to make changes, you just press the little edit button, little gear icon, and click on it. And you could change this to just receipt instead of new receipt. The reason why there is a space here instead of it just being right up here is because it automatically opens up. And I never like that, so I keep a little space here so that way when it makes a new one, it doesn't automatically open this up for me because I want to be able to drag it out first. Let's get into the views, okay? New is just for that. It's just quickly being able to add a new invoice. There's also buttons for when you've want to create one but you haven't sent it yet or are waiting to send it, and then creating one that you've already sent. This is just a quick access way to do it so you don't have to open up everything, all the big stuff. This is to quickly review what's going on in terms of activity, okay? And as you can see, we have various different indications here. We have a partial payment, but again, it's not fully paid. We have 7 days past due, 6 days, 33, not paid at all, right? This is coming up as recently paid because the amount paid and the last payment date was recent enough to come back in. This is Wonder Woman's, right? This is the one that we did today. And it's coming up under the recently paid because the last payment date was May 9th, which is today. I believe the filter is doing it. So it's doing it at least a month. If it's within a month, it's been recently paid. So this is based on the formula. If it has anything that's passed and it's not the little paid symbol, it's going to come up here. So there's going to be a lot of outstanding stuff, but you have different little tabs for what's overdue and what is coming up. Okay. That way you're not you don't have to be overwhelmed. You can just check out one or the other. Okay. Similarly with this, if you have a lot that's been recently paid, you can kind of filter it down by what's been partial and what is fully paid. So let's get into this one. We have a taxes view, and then this is the main one. This has, again, all these different views. So this is the original database here. This shortcut up here, this shortcut takes you to the original of this, right? It's not housed in the page we just came from. It's its own thing. So the reason I do this is because it's a lot easier to fine-tune this database how you want it, and then you have all the views you want, and it's so much easier to like copy a view. So what I mean is, if I wanted another database and I wanted it to be the advanced invoices database, I can choose my views so easily because pretty much everything I could need is there, right? Let's say I really want to see the income by quarter in a separate area. It's just already there, you know? So I like to tweak the main database, and then I have really great views to choose from. And if you didn't want this one anymore, if there was too many views here, you could always turn it into a page, drag it back up here for your reference, and you could always get rid of the shortcut. But this, whenever it has the little arrow, that's the shortcut, and when it doesn't, this is the original database. You can always drag it up there. You could always create another one, like create another view that you want. Right? So I could just have, what is not paid, right? If that's the only view that I wanted. Okay? There you go, right? For now, I'm going to leave it like this. That way it's easier for you to tweak it how you want to, and then keep those changes. And then last but not least, we have a tax withholding calculator. So, like how I mentioned earlier, estimated taxes estimates what you're going to have to withhold based on what is the total due, what your invoice says. But the actual has it based on what the amount paid is. So again, if Wonder Woman paid me more than I was actually owed, this would reflect that. Whereas the estimated would be behind. It would be inaccurate information. This is just to kind of get an idea before you're paid how much you're going to be having to withhold, just to give you, again, kind of being able to be proactive about your finances that way. Whereas this tells you what you're actually looking at. Now, if you want to change the percentages, I believe both are set to 25%. You just have to change the 25 to whatever you want. The 0.25 to, you could do it to 30, right? And you have to change it for this too. You could change it to 30. And then this will reflect that. And you need to change it for the actual as well. So you have to, if you want these, I mean, you could do it different, right? You could have estimated tax to where it's actually, more or less of a percentage, right? It's really up to you. But I keep it at 25 for now for this initial demonstration. And then actual, same thing. You just change this number and this one. So that way it reflects the percentage that you want to withhold. So you always know you have that information. And then we have this month actual. So this filters based on when the last payment date was. Okay? And it's not going to tell you anything that hasn't been paid at all. So I have it so that if the amount paid doesn't even equal 0, it's not going to show up here. Because all you want to see is what's actually, what money you've actually made. All right? And it, again, tells you the taxes based on that. Similarly, taxes by quarter. This is the actual taxes that are due. And this shows you everything else. It shows you the amount that's been paid right here. And then the actual taxes that are due. And the status of each invoice. And you can see it by quarter. So this one, because it doesn't have a last payment date, it's not showing up in a quarter. So if I change it though, and I add a last payment date, which might be, last week, it's showing up in quarter 2. If I change it to January, it should be quarter 1. There we go, right? And then there's nothing here because we don't want anything that can't be assigned to a quarter. And again, you have various views here for your convenience, but I think we covered everything. There's a lot of thought behind the scenes of the templates. It can take some time, I should say, to get used to. But, I mean, look, my DMs are always open. I would love to get in contact with you guys, to meet you, kind of know what you need, how you're using this, what your business is. I want to connect with you. So if you have any questions for me, feedback for me, anything, hit me up, please. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. Again, I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to first do this walkthrough video. If it helps convince you to buy it, I hope that it does, because this has been really thought out. And similarly, if you've already purchased it, I hope that this helps you feel very confident in kind of stepping into this template. I know it's got a lot, but it has been put there intentionally, and that is the Advanced Invoices and Receipts template. Thank you. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm rooting for you, and take it easy, okay? Bye.